We don't exist in a duality, we create a duality. And duality was created when the Most High, Source Consciousness itself, divine or divine consciousness, which is passive and feminine, decided to exist essentially, creating a pocket within space and time for a three-dimensional physical plane of existence. In the physical plane became a split, and Shaitan as a force was also quote unquote birthed, because in order to be in a physical plane you have to be birthed. How was the first being birthed, who was the incarnation or the avatar, I should say, of the Most High? I talked about it in another video. I don't want to get too far off, but they were birthed. I will just say that. Shaitan represents all the sins, the deadly sins, but jealousy and envy mostly, because everything kind of starts there. Jealousy and envy. And beneath Shaitan and everything that Shaitan represents in his lower aspects, maybe you can say it's a frequency, but it's a force that with time creates this cyclical procession. And within the procession, starting with feminine, starting with womb beings, at the opposite end is male genitalia. Okay? So it starts with a womb being, and I don't say female because females as we know it today, they're not womb beings that they were. I've said this before in another video, and I don't want to da-da-da-da. It's just the females today have shrunk themselves in such a way that it doesn't mean that they can't come back from. You have to breed yourself to be parthenogenesis and bigger, which means, and that will come innately, as you become bigger as women, as females, you beget the old genes that you used to have. That's why men seem like they're so much stronger and more skillful than a lot of women, is because, or females, is because they are bred to be bigger, and that has everything, yet they lack partially a chromosome. So like, because they're bred bigger, they have aspects of the feminine more than females do. But I digress. Shaitan represents the male genitalia and a lot of the things that are wicked within this world today. And that's all I wanted to say in this video. It is about a procession that happens naturally. Sometimes in the procession, how males come about is they were created. They're always created. But sometimes it's kind of natural, I would almost say. It's almost innate within being in time. It's innate. And I can talk about how this links with Neanderthals and the past procession cycle, and how they used who they are, the Anunnaki used in Neanderthals and the current human, or I should say the melanated native indigenous being, with the Neanderthal to create, and a bunch of other miscegenated dead DNA things to create the empty vessel homunculus, which were created to be infested by interdimensional beings that make, because they're interdimensional beings stuck in a descended state, which is Nephilim, meaning descended state, meaning they were in a fallen state of being. They didn't graduate. They didn't evolve. They stayed in basically what I talk about in other videos, which is a frequency like 5G, and uploading their consciousness to 5G, and they're stuck in an ethos. And they were downloaded essentially, or infested the homunculus so that they had somewhere to operate. They were empty vessels so that the interdimensional beings could operate them. And then used people within their dream state as batteries. They talked about this 6,000 years ago in the hypostasis of the archons. This is Gnosticism, and it's very much real. With that being said, yes, the Anunnaki, who were melanated, who wanted to create their own race because they thought they were gods and they thought they were better than everyone else on the planet, they took the Neanderthal DNA from past precession cycles, the male, to create what is the homunculus without melanin, and now is the Caucasian who interbreeded with native indigenous folks all around the world to become the Caucasian that it is today through featureism and colorism, trying to keep this recessed pool alive when it's destined to be weeded out. But I digress. If you feel some type of way about it, it's because you feel pride about being white when you don't have a right to really feel pride about anything. I don't necessarily feel pride about being native indigenous. And when I ask myself why I would be proud, I list off things that are my integrity, my morality, the fact that I have overcome adversity despite the isms of the world. And when I ask you as a white person, why do you feel pride? And you can't really give me the similar answer, you're full of fucking shit. I digress. And if you feel triggered, that means something is inside of you that needs to change. Bye now.